Okay, so once we're done creating all the UVs, it is time, of course, to texture the model. So for this video I'm going to use Photoshop for texturing. Of course you can use any other program that's similar to Photoshop. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to select the whole object, and as you can see, this is the way how I packed all my UVs. So I'm going to polygons, and I'm going to UV snapshot. Okay, and from here I can select an area where I can save my file. Okay, and here you can also set the size for the texture. 1024 should be completely fine for this. The final should be about 512 probably. If this was for a game, third-person game, like an RTS type of game, it would be like a 512, maybe 256 size. So 1024 should be fine, and everything else you leave that way and just say OK. So now that file has been saved to our computer. Now we have to do is open it using something like Photoshop. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll open Photoshop here. Go to File and open your file, the one you just saved. And this file is a Maya IFF file. Just go ahead and open it. And this is what you're going to get. I'm going to press Ctrl-0 so I can fit the image to the window here. So this is what it looks like. Basically you can barely see the UVs there, the lines, against the transparent background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, click right here to create a new layer. Okay, and that will be layer 1. I'm going to drag it down so that can be our background, and let's go ahead and name it. And this one will be our UV. So let's give our background layer a color. So I'm going to hit Control Backspace, which filled it with white, but I actually want it to be filled with black. So I'm going to use Alt Backspace. As you can see, I'm using black and white as my default colors here, which is why Alt Backspace fills with black. I'm going to select the UV area. I'm going to hit this, which locks the pixels. And I'm going to hit Control Backspace just so that I can fill that with white, so I can see my UVs a lot better. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look at the picture. And as we can see, the water towers, basically it's mostly metal, gray metal. So what we need is to make it metal. So the first thing I'm going to do, go back to Maya so I can see what is what in my UV area. So as you can see, if I select the top, that means that is this area right here. Okay, this one is that. That is that. Okay. Okay, I just want to know what is what in the UV. Okay, let's go back to Photoshop. So basically, you can go about texturing this any way you like. What I like to do is I like to use a base color first. So for my metal it's going to be a gray color. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this base. And I'm going to use my marquee selection, which is this one, my rectangular marquee select. And first I'm going to select this one, drag it down, select this one. Basically I'm going to create a base color for all those different pieces. Let's see, and that little piece. Hold down Shift so that you can select more than just one area. Okay, I'm going to use the cylindrical. I'm going to hold down Alt so I can deselect that. There we go. And now I'm going to fill this with the gray color. So I'm going to hit here. I'm just going to select something that's kind of gray, and I'm going to hit Alt Backspace, and there we have it. And it doesn't matter what type of gray, I mean, it depends on how you want your piece to look like. So this one would actually be the main, and you can name this however you like. I'm just going to name it main base color, just so I can remember. Okay, now I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to select a different piece here. Okay, so this is the support area here. Okay, and I'm going to create a layer for that. So I'm going to select this. Oops. Back to my rectangular marquee. Select the top for this one. Okay, the one from the outside. So it will be this one. Okay. And I'm going to fill it with the same color for now. Whoops, I think I deselected the area here. Okay, let's go ahead and Alt Delete or backspace. And I'm going to name this my support base, meaning base color. And let's see what else. And this is going to be my ladder. And that's going to be the railing there. So I'm going to select those. Okay. So that's going to be one separate one. So drag select. Okay, I'm going to create a new layer and name this transparency base, just for now. I may not even use that for that one. And let's go ahead and select everything else that we have not selected. And I'm going to make a new layer, Alt backspace. I'm going to name this one just everything else base. Again, you can name this however you want. Okay, so this is what we have so far, and let's go ahead and save this file. For now, let's keep it a Photoshop file. That is fine. I'm going just to name it Water Tower Diffuse, and let's save it. And let's go ahead and apply it in Maya so that we can actually start to see. Select the whole thing. Hold down right click and go to Assign New Material. Let's go ahead and select the Lambert material. I'm going to name this my Water Tower material. Okay, and click here under the color checker box. In this case, we're going to select PSD file, as we're saved it as a Photoshop file. So PSD file, and let's go ahead and look for the texture and load it. Okay, and as we can see that that's our base color on the model. And you can hit here so you can actually see the texture, or press 6. Okay, so we can go ahead and go back to Photoshop now, and we can start with the main base. So pretty much we want to create a texture which is the metal type of texture. So we'll have to continue to come back here and look at the image as reference. And what I like to do is you need to gather some textures, real life textures. So go to the internet and go to cgtextures.com. Here you're going to find a lot of images, textures that you can use for your models. So you have to sign up, but it's free. Again, cgtextures.com. This is the place I always use for my textures. So basically I already downloaded a few of these So basically the main ones we want are go to the metals and decals. Those are the main two that I'm going to be using. I probably got a few others from like the plaster or soil areas here, but the main ones are metals and decals. So click on that, and there's a lot more choices here. So pretty much just browse through the images here and just choose which ones you're going to use for your model. Okay, so I'm going to close this, and I'm going to open a few of the images from my texture library. So I'm going to metals, and as you can see I have a bunch of textures here. So now I have to choose which ones I'm going to use. Something like this can be really useful because this thing's made of panels, so that one could probably fit in pretty well. So I want to start with one that's just the base texture, which is that one. Probably select this one. And again, that's right now I'm just selecting a few images that I think are interesting and that fit in with the model. Again, you can download all these from CG Textures. You can choose which ones you're going to use. This way you don't have to use specifically the ones I'm using. Okay, so I'm just going to open a few for now. So I think I will use this one. So just go to your move tool here, grab it, drag it to your file that has the texture, and just drop it here. So you can see this way. First of all, I'm going to create a group. I'm going to hit this button right here to create a group, and this is going to be my main texture. And I'm going to drop my main base and this texture there. Okay. I'm going to name this texture base overlay. Okay. So I'm going to use this one as my first texture. I'm going to press Ctrl T, and holding down Shift I'm going to rotate it here. Press Enter when you're done and just move that into place. So you can see this way. Okay, I'm going to hold down Alt and drag it so I can get a duplicate of that same layer. Okay, and I'm going to, I think I can just merge these two. And now I'm going to set it to, I'm going to set the blending mode here to something like a overlay or soft light. Something that's really settled, because this is just my base. Has to be really not too strong. Okay, and again you can save it, and you can go back to Maya so you can look at it. I'm going to go to Edit, Delete All by Type History. This way we don't have to scroll all the way here to our history. Just go to our material. Under color, click on the arrow, and sometimes you have to hit reload, or just Maya's just going to reload it by itself, as it did right here. As you can see, we can start to see the actual texture on it. And again, it depends on the type of look that you're going for. Okay, let's go back to Photoshop. And now let's choose one other texture. I'll drag this one up. Going to rotate it. And for this one, going to set it to soft light as well. Then set the opacity to something pretty low. I'm going to duplicate it, hold down Alt and just drag it. Let's go back to Maya and see what it looks like. Okay. As we can see, this thing is made of panels, so we have to get something like that from our textures. I'll get this one that has some scratches. And it's a good idea if you can find some textures that are tiling textures. So now I want to get a texture that has panels. Again, you can technically just hand paint all of these, but just to make it easier or faster here, I'm just going to do this based textures. I kind of like this one. This one also. The only problem with this one is that it's a bit too rusty for what I want, although it could possibly work just fine. Let's try it out. Rotate it, and this one needs to be scaled down. I'm going to hold down Alt and drag it. And hit Control T and flip vertical. Yes. Okay. And sometimes textures, if they have lighting issues, that can kind of be an issue that we have to fix, or we might need to get a better texture. We can try different blending modes to see which one we like most. Let's save it and see what it looks like this way. Obviously the panels have to be smaller than this, so we might have to scale that down. Again, I think this one may not work just because of the lighting issues that it has. So it doesn't look as bad as I expected it. I expected it to look a lot worse. But again, I think the panels can be a lot smaller. I'll see if I have another image that I may be able to use for the panels. We can always try this one, although this one seems to have some perspective to it, so I'll probably have to crop it.